Okay, what I have on the screen is an example of a real world problem where I was getting 5% interest. Can you see that in the formula? I know it's kind of small for you in the back row, but do you see the 5% in there somewhere? That's the annual what? Interest. Okay, good. APR, annual percentage rate would be another way to say it, or AR for annual rate. And what's that little divide by 12 after it going to do? It makes it into a monthly problem. That means that the interest rate is being compounded monthly. Does that mean you pay 5% per month? No, that would be ludicrous. That's incredibly expensive. That means that they figure out how much you owe after your first month, and then they refigure it from there. See what I mean? They refigure the 5% as, oh, well, how much a month is that? If we did it really easy, we did like 12%, and then we divided by 12, then that would be like 1% per month, right? Okay, so it's just refiguring the interest that many times. And the other thing it does is it makes this next number that comes up a monthly number. What is this minus 50? That would be like, I can tell, because it's minus, that it's a what? Is it a deposit or a payment? It's a payment. All right. Now, if you were going to do a deposit, I asked you to consider this scenario. I asked you to consider, what if you did a 7% growth? Money's going to grow at 7% because you invested in stocks and bonds and Bitcoin and a whole bunch of things, and it grows on average 7%. And then I'm going to be a plus here because I'm making this into a, I want to add $300 a month to my investment. I'm going to start with $1,000. And then we looked at the table. But I asked you to go out to 50 years. Is that U sub 50? Why is it not U sub 50? That would be months. That'd be 50 months. And then you have to go times 12. What is 50 times 12? 600. So you want U sub 600. The smart way to do this is to not go to the table because it'll go way faster. Think about it. How can I get the 600th term to show up? U sub, and I just typed it into the wrong spot. Hold on. I got to screw that up, put the 1,000 back in there. Sorry. I got to get out of this, quit out of this. And then in here, I should do U sub, do you say 600? 50 years would be 600 months. And it's still taking a while to think, but at least it doesn't have to think through all the entries on the table. See what I mean? It has to calculate just one for me. And it turns out you'd have $1.6 million. I know you could save $300 a month if you really, really put your mind to it. Again, barring some bad things not happening to you, barring you getting cancer, or barring you, losing your legs in a terrible car accident, you can't work, or etc. But if you really wanted to, if you really made it a huge priority to save, many of you anyway could save $300 a month, and therefore many of you could be millionaires someday. And I know some people think, well, that's for like doctors and lawyers and people. There's a lot of custodians who are millionaires. I know a person in this school building. I won't say who it was. In fact, they have just recently retired, but they were a paraprofessional, which make way less than teachers. Who is a millionaire? Why? Because he saved money every month and he invested it. He didn't just stick it in the bank. That's, if we change this interest rate to 0.1%, which is what you get at a bank right now, super safe, no risk, it's not going to be anywhere near 1.6 million. In fact, let's find out how much it is. All right, go back to the formula and change this to be 0.1%. Just to clarify, that's not 0.01. And I'm going to do an insert. Do you know how to do that? It's above delete. Insert 0, 0. Now I'm going to change that to a 1. And now I got to get over to the 7 and get rid of that. There, 0.001. Now that's growing at a rip-roaring rate of 0.1%. Okay, that's not very much. That's what the bank would give you about. There's not going to be 1.6 million in there anymore. Now we still are putting in 300 a month, so there's still going to be something in there, but it's not going to be nearly 1.6 million. I'm going to quit out and see what my new U sub 6,000 is. Sorry, 600. Thank you. Your new bottom line. You're still saved. You still got some money for retirement, which is a lot better than nothing. But you only have 185,000. Look at the difference. That's almost 10 times as much because you took some risk. Am I guaranteeing you're going to make 7% interest? Of course not. But if you take some risk, you have a chance to do that. Whereas if you keep it at 0.1%, I know what you'll have, 185,000. Honestly, there are some people who are going to say, you know what? I'd rather be safe. I'd rather for sure have the 185,000, and I don't want to take the risk. And that's okay. You get to decide that for yourself. Over the long haul, though, taking some risk usually brings you some reward. Yes? Yep. So here's a really simple way to think of it. Let's say every month you had the $300 and you bought another few shares of a different stock. I'm not saying that's a great way to go, but it would work. Let's say especially if you bought shares of stock that were like you'd researched a little bit, like during the month you really took it seriously, like I'm going to find another really good company to buy some of. And you look and you go, you know, this company is a new company and they're making this new kind of drone that I think is going to be really cool. I'll buy a few shares of that. You know what I mean? And you just buy a few shares of that with each $300 and you own a few shares of a whole bunch of things and you just kind of try not to spend any of it, just let it be. You'd probably do way better than your 1% or 0.1% in the bank. Now, there's a place for a bank. I have a lot of money in the bank right now. It's not like I think banks are dumb. But it's just I know that money's not going to grow. And I better not do that with all my money. I want some of my money to be safe. And then some of my money I want to take a risk with. Okay, so next we're going to talk about how much interest would you pay on a loan. And also, how do you make the payments work out perfectly? Okay, so now I want you to go back to your y equals button, and then we're going to change our scenario back to a loan, and we're going to make it a 5% interest rate, 0.05, and I'm going to delete that out of there, so it's just 0.05/12, and that means monthly. And if this is going to be a loan of $1,000, then we're going to make payments, and I did minus 50 there. And I'm going to delete out that 0. There. Make sure yours looks like that. 5% interest monthly, making $50 payments. When we did that, we could figure out how long it takes to pay off this loan. Now remember, your table might be in a really crazy spot right now. So would you please go to your table settings and put it back to 0 as a table start. Start at 0 and look at your table. And if it doesn't go 1,000 and then 954 and then 908, would you please just go back and fix your y equals screen? All right? Show your table to the kid next to you. Make sure yours is right. I'm going to pause while we make sure everybody's in the right spot. Okay, we're back. Seems like they've got it. So then just keep arrowing down. It's not going to take too long, and you will find when it's paid off. How will you know that the loan is paid off? When it's negative. And then technically that doesn't, what does negative even mean in money? It's not like you have negative money running around. They owe you money. So at that moment right there, oh, it's still going, dang it. Sorry, my screen calculator is so slow that I hit down a bunch of times and it just stays in its memory. Oh, great, I'm going to pause. Okay, we got it back under control here. At 21, how much money had been spent? Well, you got to think about how much were they paying and how many times did they do it. How much were they paying? 50. How many times did they do it? 21. Can you do 50 times 21? If you have to, quit out of your thing that you're in and do 50 times 21. The phone needs to go away. All right, did you get $1,050? Okay. So after you made that payment, do you think the bank just goes, they paid me extra, I get to keep it? No, they actually are fair about that kind of thing, and they will give you the money back. So then, did you really pay $1,050? No, because they're going to give you $3.68 back. So actually factor that in. We're going to be that accurate. So we had 1,050, 1050. And now we have to subtract off $3.68. And that gives me 1046. Now think about it. I thought you were borrowing $1,000, but somehow you ended up paying $1,046. Do you get how to make the interest number then? You just subtract off what you thought you were borrowing, and then however much more than that, that was interest. So that's going to be one of the questions they're going to ask you today is how much interest, or how much total did you pay? 1046.32. How much of that was interest? You just have to subtract the original 1,000, and therefore $46.32 was interest. Now, I know you may be thinking, how is the bank's only making 46 bucks on all that? Yeah, that's why they don't like to do little loans like that. What they want to do is lend you money to buy a house because they'll make a lot more. Let me show you how much. It's not like banks are bad things. If we didn't have banks lending us the money, a lot of people would never be able to buy a house because you'd have to save up like $300,000 and then buy your house. Holy crap, nobody would get a house. So it's not like they're doing a bad thing, but they will make a lot of money. So let's watch. Yes? Correct. In Minnesota law, actually, see, the banks really like it that you borrowed the money, and they want you to pay all the interest. So they don't really encourage you to pay it off early. But Minnesota law even says that if you want to pay it off early, paying any of your loans off early, that you have to allow your customers to pay back early if they want to. Okay, and so that way you don't have to pay as much interest. All right, so let's see how much interest there's going to be on a house loan. First of all, would you guys agree that houses can vary dramatically? Some people live in $10 million houses. Other people live in really small houses. I'm going to go with the smallest house you could probably get, and we'll still see how much money the bank will make, and it'll be a lot. Around here, a $200,000 house would definitely be on the low side. So put in 200,000. Make sure it's not 20,000 by accident. 200,000 is the loan. We're going to keep it at 5%. And then it's really hard to know what payments to make. See what I'm saying? How big of a payment do you make? I actually know because I did the problem before. But why? How would I know? Well, first of all, something you probably don't know is house loans are always 30-year loans or sometimes 15-year loans. Then there's always the like 0.5% of people that want the really strange loan, and you can get strange ones like you can say, hey, let's make it 50-year loan, or let's make it a 13-year loan. But usually it's 30-year loans. Almost everybody's 30-year when they first buy a house. Some people are wealthy enough that they say, you know what, don't want to pay that much interest. I want mine over with quicker. I want a 15-year. So it's usually either 30 or 15. Okay? So we're going to go with a 30-year loan. How much should the payment be? Now, you could guess and check, and it's a pain in the butt. So we decided this year, for the first time, that we're going to show people how to use this other program that does this for you. All right, so we're going to stop putting this in because we don't know what payment to put. I'm going to go quit out, and I'm going to clear this to show you I'm just on the blank screen of the calculator. You guys get there too. Okay, and I'll show you where this app is that'll tell me how much my payment should be. It's pretty cool. You can actually use this like at a bank. I have a friend who's taken out loans before, and they use this to check to make sure that the banks, what they're asking for is about the right amount of money. You have to round a little bit because their calculations might be done with slightly different numbers of compoundings per day, for example. And we're going to always just use monthly. They might do a little more complicated one, so it might be off a little bit. But this would be really close to what the bank would tell you too. All right, hit the button called Apps. You may have never been there before. This might be your first time in apps. Now, I want you to think about TI when they made this. Do you get that they said, okay, we have a whole bunch of apps, so let's put them in order to put them on the menu. Do you think that they put their worst thing first? No, they're probably going to put their best, most commonly used thing first. So finance must be a pretty good app. So hit enter. We are doing finance. Next, of all the finance apps they have, which are legion, they do have a top one here, and probably their best one, TVM Solver. Let me explain what TVM stands for. Time value of money. Hit enter. Time value of money. Now I want you to think about this. If I paid you to do a job for me, like you mow my lawn, and I say, okay, I'll give you 25 bucks, you mow my lawn. You mow my lawn, and I say, well, I didn't say I was going to give you the 25 bucks now. I'll give you the 25 bucks 100 years from now. Do you get that's a total ripoff? Because in your head, you know there's a time value of money. As in, to get the money right now is the best. What if I, the guy who just hired you to mow the lawn, had agreed with you ahead of time to give you 25 bucks now, or I could give you 35 bucks if you wait till next year? That happens in the real world all the time. Companies will negotiate with each other and say, okay, instead of paying you right now, how about if you let me pay you later and I'll give you more? Because money right now is worth the most. So let's say that $25 that I owe you, how many of you would take the deal and say, I'll take 35 next year? All right. And some of you might be like, I want my 25 now. So there's a number there somewhere where there'd be a fair amount that 1 year from now, the fair amount that's going to be value the time involved. See, there's a time value to money. You're used to spending money like right now, and you get the money right now, or you spend the money right now. But what if you want to do it a year from now or 5 years from now? How about this? What if I said, I'll give you $25 to mow the lawn? Or how about this? I'll give you $2,500 to mow my lawn. But I'm not giving it to you for 30 years. How many of you would make that trade? Wouldn't it be kind of fun to have the $2,500 hanging out there? Now that involves a lot of trust though, right? You got to trust I'm actually going to do that. That's where in the finance world they have contracts for that. You know, like they write it up and this big company, XYZ company, will pay you this much money 25 years from now. Have you heard about the lottery winners? They're often offered the option, do you want this as like $1,000 a month for the rest of your life? Or do you want the $100,000 right now? And again, that's time value of money. You get to pick. And almost everybody in the lottery payout takes the I want the money right now deal. And almost everybody shouldn't do that. Almost everybody should take the monthly deal because you will for sure get money for the rest of your life. And you can't just blow it all because people get the money and then what do? They're like, I'm rich, and they spend it all, and then their cousin wants some and they give them some, and they feel bad for their brother because he didn't win the lottery, so they give them some, and pretty soon their money's gone in like a year and a half. And in fact, there's a high percentage of them that go broke 5 years after they won the lottery. They're not only at zero, they're at negative because they spent it all, and then their lifestyle increased so much that they now got to pay the taxes on that car and their house, and they go broke. So it's been much smarter for people to take the time value of money into consideration. Okay, so now let's see how to use this for our scenario. Why do you think there's a 360 at the top? I'm going to show you. Because a typical house loan is 30 years. Well, you got a 360 there, Mr. Server. It's not 30, but it's 30 times 12. This is a calculator after all. It can multiply. So you can type in 30 times 12, and it knows it's 360. What I'm trying to say there is you don't have to just know. What if I say 50 years and you don't know how many months that is? Go 50 times 12 there. All right. Next up, interest rate 5%. Present value 200,000. Payment. Where did I get that number? I didn't know it. I'm going to hit clear. You don't have that number, so I'll show you how you get that number. Payment, I don't know. I just skip it. How about the next one? FV. That stands for future value. And by the way, it won't let me go past the payment, so until I hit something, so I'll just hit 0 for now. And I'll fill it in later. I'll show you how to get that payment. Why do I want the future value of my loan to be 0? Because it's a loan and you want it to eventually be paid off, right? Do you see why we want 0 there? All right, keep entering these numbers with me as you go down your calculator. Next one is 12, and it'll automatically fill in 12 for the other one. One stands for compoundings per year, the other stands for payments per year. We're always going to use 12s for that. If we change it to anything, it would be quarterly, which would be what? 4, very good. Okay, and payments at the end or the beginning. I'll let you pick on that, but just to clarify, that means you either make your payments at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. Do you think there could be a difference in how much money you would have at the end? There is a slight difference because there's a time value of money, and that's only 30 days, but let's make our payments at the beginning of the month because we'll have just slightly more money that way in this scenario. And besides, do you think on the home loan that they'll just say, hey, take the first month off. You can pay me at the end of the month? I don't think so. They're going to want their money in this home loan right away at the very beginning of the month. Okay, so we'll go with begin. All right, now, how do I get the payment? This is the cool thing. Do you remember it was called the TVM solver? That means I can solve for anything I want. So the thing I don't know in this scenario is the payment. I need to solve for that. You probably have never seen this, but there's a little word solve right above the enter key on your calculator. It's right there. That means you hit the green alpha button and you go alpha solve. And it tells you your payment needs to be 1069.18. 1069 a month. That's how much you pay for your house. Now that is actually kind of on the small side. If you want to talk to your parents about this, ask them how much your mortgage payment is. That's private. Obviously, you shouldn't go tell me that. But some of your parents, it might be $2,000 a month. Some it might be $5,000 a month. I mean, it really depends on your income and your situation, how big your house is. But $1,000 a month is not that big for a house loan. It's actually on the small side. All right. Now, how much? First of all, I started this by saying this can tell me how much the payment should be to make it a 30-year loan. What if we wanted to make it a 15-year loan instead? Do you know what to change? Think about that. Yes? Okay, then you don't have enough zeros on your PV. I'm guessing you put in 20,000 instead of 200,000. Double check that. Okay, so this helps me figure out the payment. What if I change the scenario? I said 30 year before, now I'm saying 15 years. So 15 times 12, everybody put that in. There's only 180 payments. Do you think the payments have to be bigger? That makes sense, right? You can pay it off faster. The payments will be bigger. Notice it didn't change. This is not a spreadsheet. It doesn't automatically change. You got to go and say alpha solve. My payments are a lot bigger. So you can decide whether or not that's smart when we see how much interest that'll save you. Do you get if you pay it off quicker, you're paying less interest? All right, so let's go back to the original. Sorry to make you do this, but go back up, make this 360 again. And we're going to go down to the payment and recalculate that puppy. It doesn't take very long, though. There it is, 1069. Then, how much did you actually pay? How many payments did you make? How many payments? Simple question. 360. How much were the payments? 1,000. Do you get that's about $360,000? 360 times 1,000, right? Let's get the exact number. Take 1069 and times by 360. 1069 times 360. 360 months. Wait a minute. I thought we borrowed 200,000. We paid almost 400,000. Why? Interest. Do you see why banks like those loans? Just one person walks in. Okay, takes out a home loan. Mr. Banker is going to make $184,000 in interest. Now, are there some things that could go wrong for the banker? Yeah. What if they loaned it to somebody who doesn't pay them back? It can be a nightmare for them. The person's not paying. They have to hound them about paying, sending out lawyer bills and notices, and sometimes it doesn't work out really well for the bank. But if everything works out well, they're going to make $184,000 on one person having a home loan. See why you see advertisements for home loans? All right, now let's figure out how much total we would have paid for the house if we'd have gone the 15-year route. I bet you're going to pay a lot less interest. Remember the number, 184,000. That's how much interest we paid. I'm rounding here, but now go back to the apps. And we have to hit a couple enters, but it'll still have our numbers in there, which is kind of nice. Now we're going 15-year. Everybody change it to 15-year. Figure out the payments. Figure out the total you spent. And see how much you would have saved. You'll save a lot by going with a 15-year mortgage. We're not just talking a few $100. Now pause for a second while you figure that out. So I asked you to figure out how much it would be if it was a 15-year. Watch how fast this can be. 15 times 12 made that 180 months. And now I recalculate my payment. And my payment's now $1,575. I take my $1,575, and oops, I forgot. Can you remind me how many months that is? 180, thank you. And now my new bill is $283. Holy crap, you saved about $100,000. You see why it might be worth paying a little more per month, paying the $1,500 payment? Because in the end, it might save you $100,000. That might be enough to like put your kid through college, for example. On the difference. So, just if you have puppies, you don't have to put them through college. That's another option. All right. So, 283,000 compared to 384. If you subtracted those two, you'd be able to say, look at the difference in interest, and that's a lot of money. All right. So that is a typical problem for today, and I hope you saw how that could be valuable in the real world. One more on the TVM solver. It's just a quick little add-on, but I think it'll be worth it. Go back to apps, TVM solver. It's the first one on both. Now I want to make this an investment. I want to make this an investment of 50 years. 50 times 12 then. Why 50 years? Because 50 years from now, you'll be about retirement age. 50 years from now. What if you get 7.5% return in the stock market? Sadly, you don't have 200,000 right now. Okay? Now, this is kind of private. You type in whatever amount you have right now. I'll never ask you to tell me this amount. Some of you guys might have 2,000 bucks in there. Sometimes you might have $0. You can. It doesn't like you to start with zero though. So if you have $0, I'll give you $1. Okay, I will actually give you $1, but start with $1 because it wasn't like zero. It messes things up. So let's say you got 2,000 bucks that you've saved up from Christmas gifts over the years or whatever. Okay, make this personal to you. Then payment. How much can you make and pay per month? Right now you're just a high school kid. You don't have a lot of money. So let's use the number of $300 a month. I know you probably have to work really hard to do that right now. I know. But in a few years, you'll have a real job, and then it'll be much easier to make and pay $300 a month. But like literally, if you had to get $300 a month, couldn't you like do a bunch of babysitting jobs, work for the neighbor? I mean, if you had to, you'd be amazed what you can do if you have to do it. You know, people right now, there are people that have to walk literally 6 miles to get to school. Not here. I'm talking in other countries, but they do it every day because they have to. You would say, I can't do that. Well, then you can't go to school. And you're never going to be able to be anything except, I don't know, local farmer or whatever. So they say, it's worth it. I'm walking the 6 miles. And you can be a farmer. There's nothing wrong with being a farmer. They actually make lots of money right now. Yes? Cool. So you had that experience. Was it, I'm guessing there was days that it wasn't a problem at all, the bike. Were there other days you were like, this sucks? Yeah. And it was in the summer, which isn't that bad. Ah, okay. They don't want you biking in a tornado. I get you. All right. Future value, that's the thing we don't know, right? So go alpha solve. You see how quickly you can change your scenarios? My scenario with $2,000. Now, why is it negative? Because, okay, that gets complicated. It's like money that's not in your account right now. That's how much you would get. Yeah, think about it. Nobody's going to come and take money from you at the end. Okay, you have money at the end. All right. And now that seems just ludicrous. That doesn't seem possible. It's the power of compounding. All right. So, can you be wealthy someday? Yeah, if you can suck it up, actually take the time it takes to like learn about investing, which isn't that hard, and then save every month. And then here's the other thing. This scenario assumes you never touched any of it. You just let it grow. Guess what happens after you got about 50,000 in there? You go, I've been saving for a long time, and I saved up this 50,000 bucks. And there's this really sweet car, and I could just go buy it today. And they get tempted, and all in one day, salesman gets a hold of them and is like, you're going to change your life. You buy this car. And you're like, I got to buy the car. And you buy the car, and then boom, all that money's gone. You got to start over again. And you never get to that big ending point. All right. Here's the ones you can skip on today's homework. 2, 3, 5, and 8. Try to remember that. 2, 3, 5, and 8. If you have to, you can watch this video over again. Problems 2, 3, 5, and 8 are skips on tonight's homework.
Thank you. Have a good
Skip
day.
2, 3, 5, and 8. Yep. Have a good day.